Good evening, viewers and listeners. Welcome to this another edition of Serving the People, which is brought to you by the Democratic Republican Party, the D.R.P. of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm your host and political leader of the D.R.P., Mrs. Anesia Baptiste. As usual, please let us start with a word of prayer. Loving Father in heaven, help me that as I speak to the people, they may know the truth and nothing but the truth, and that they may assert their God-given rights and freedoms in demanding proper accountability from their government. In Jesus' holy name, amen. And now remember, if you wish to contact me, you may dial the number that's on your screen. It's 528-1015. That's 528-1015. In this evening's program, we wish to address the recent discussion and argument concerning the International Airport Development Company, its audited financial statements, and whether or not they can be audited by the Director of Audit. This is our thesis. The I.A.D.C's accounts can be audited by the Director of Audit, and this is supported by 1. The Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Section 75, subsection 2, paragraph A and B, and subsection 6. Also, it is supported by 2. The Audit Act 2005, sections 18, 19, and other supporting sections to which we will refer. How will we prove in this program that indeed the Director of Audit has permission and can audit the financial statements of the I.A.D.C? Well, we will show this by looking at the nature of the I.A.D.C and show how it falls indeed under organizations whose accounts can be audited by the Director of Audit. We will show this by showing, point number 1, the I.A.D.C is involved in the expenditure of, or it spends funds appropriated and disbursed by Parliament. It qualifies as among, quote, bodies established by law for public purposes, end of quote. 2, it qualifies as a recipient of government money, end of quote, recipient of government money. And 3, the I.A.D.C qualifies as, quote, a government-owned or controlled corporation. Let's look at this one by one. First of all, let's examine the constitutional grounds. I am citing for you the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. People have different versions, different copies. But in our Constitution of 1979, under Section 75, I read for you. It says, paragraph 1, or rather subsection 1, there shall be a Director of Audit whose office shall be a public office. Subsection 2, the Director of Audit shall A. satisfy himself that all monies that have been appropriated by Parliament and disbursed have been applied to the purposes to which they were so appropriated, and that the expenditure conforms to the authority that governs it. And B, at least once in every year, audit, that's the Director of Audit shall, at least once in every year, audit and report on the public accounts of St. Vincent, the accounts of all officers and authorities of the government, etc., etc. Now, let's focus here. Here we see the Constitution telling us plainly that the Director of Audit shall satisfy himself that all monies that have been appropriated by Parliament and disbursed have been applied to the purposes to which they were so appropriated, and that the expenditure, the spending of that money, conforms to the authority governing it. Any reasonable man can see that in order for the Director of Audit to satisfy himself, to fulfill this constitutional requirement, to be satisfied that monies given by Parliament to any operation, any organization, were indeed applied to the purposes for which they were given, and that they were spent for those purposes, any reasonable man can see that not only must the Director of Audit be able to audit the public accounts of the government, which would show when the money was sent out, but they must also be able to audit the accounts of the body who received the money and who is doing the spending of it, to ensure that the money was applied for the purposes for which they were appropriated or disbursed. It is reasonable, and therefore, even though a company's accounts is not listed in paragraph B, when it says what are the different accounts the Director of Audit shall audit and report on, even though it's not listed there, it is inferred, it is implied reasonably that in order to audit the public accounts of the government, which will include monies that was sent out from government, approved of in Parliament, the Director of Audit must also be able to audit the monies from the end of the company who received the money and who had responsibility for applying it for the purpose for which it was given and for spending it. That is reasonable, and therefore it takes in, obviously, a company such as the I.A.D.C. But that's not all. What about paragraph 6, or sorry, subsection 6 of section 75 of the Constitution? It says, I quote, that the Director of Audit shall exercise such other functions in relation to the accounts of the government or the accounts of other authorities or bodies established by law for public purposes as may be prescribed by or under any law enacted by Parliament. What is this telling us? Simply put, it's saying that in addition to the functions outlined above, when you get to subsection 6, the Constitution gives the Director of Audit legal authority of the highest kind of the Constitution to perform other functions. What are the other functions? They are other functions that may be prescribed by or under any law enacted by Parliament. We're going to go to the law of the Audit Act of 2005, and you will see that there are other functions in there not listed in the Constitution, which the Director of Audit, according to the Constitution, has legal right to do. And those functions, we are told, must be in relation to the accounts of certain bodies. It lists government, it lists accounts of other authorities, and it says accounts of bodies established by law for public purposes. Now we know that the I.A.D.C is not a statutory body, it's not an authority, so let's put that aside. But what about bodies established by law for public purposes? Is the I.A.D.C a body established by law for public purposes? I think it is. Why? I went to SIPO's office and I got copies of forms involved in the certification of incorporation when it was incorporated in, I believe, November 2004. And one of the documents show the purpose of this body established by law. We are told Companies Act of 1994, request for name search and name reservation. We're given the name. We're given the name of the company, International Airport Development Company Limited. What is the type of business? What is the purpose? Main types of business the company carries on or proposes to carry on. A, to provide for the financing and construction of an international airport on the mainland St. Vincent. And B, to provide for the management of all airports in the state. Wouldn't you say that's a body established by law, the Companies Act, for public purposes? Of course, because here it is providing for financing and construction of the Argyle International Airport and also providing for the management of all airports in the state. So it is indeed a body established by law, the Companies Act of 2004, Companies Act of 1994. It was incorporated in 2004 and it is a body established for public purposes. And the Constitution says that the Director of Audit shall perform functions that any law by Parliament gives it in relation to the accounts of bodies established for public purposes. But what more can I say about that will prove it? Well, under the Audit Act, let me get my Audit Act 2005. Under the Audit Act 2005, a body established by law for public purposes can also fall under something called a recipient of government money. Yes, my dear people, let's look at section 18. Let's look at section 18 of the Audit Act a moment. I'm getting my page together. We are told in section 18, and this is the Audit Act, okay? This is the Audit Act 2005, and we're told in section 18 a few things. We're told that basically the I.A.D.C, which we've already established, is a body established by law for public purposes, does also fall under recipient of government money, and this is important. What does it say? Now the section I'm reading to you, literally the description of it on the side, and I'll try to bring it up for you, says audit of recipients of government money and report to House of Assembly. Did you hear that? Audit of recipient of government money and report to House of Assembly. What does it say? And I quote 18:1. The Director of Audit may examine and audit the accounts of a recipient of government money in relation to government money received to enable him, the Director of Audit, to report as required by this Act. No. Somebody may say, oh, it says may. It says he may examine, he may audit the accounts. Hold on a second. I too am concerned about that may. But listen to the purpose for which the Director of Audit is supposed to examine and audit the accounts. We are told in relation to government money received to enable him, the Director of Audit, to report as required by this Act. So there's a legal requirement in this Act for the Director of Audit to report in his annual audit report on government accounts. And we're told here that in order to complete or fulfill that legal requirement, he may examine and audit the accounts of a recipient of government money. Therefore, in this case, the may there may examine and audit the accounts of a recipient of government money is simply giving him permission to examine the accounts of a recipient of government money. Is the I.A.D.C a recipient of government money, my dear people? But before I go there, what else does it say? It says he may examine and audit the accounts. What else? We are told the Director of Audit may require a recipient of government money to prepare and give financial statements to the Director of Audit, and may require that the financial statements be audited or that they set out details of the disposition of the government money received, or both. So the Director of Audit has this permission under this law concerning a recipient of government money. And then it says in subsection 5 of section 18 of the Audit Act 2005, without delay, after he has completed the audit report, that's the audit report of a recipient of government money, the Director of Audit shall give it to the appropriate minister and the Minister of Finance, if he is other than the appropriate minister. And it says, subsection 6, the appropriate minister shall, not later than 7 days after the House of Assembly first meets, after he has received the report of the Director of Audit, lay it before the House of Assembly. My dear people, I'm not talking about the general annual report only without reporting on a recipient of government money. I'm talking about an audit of a recipient of government money. That too has to go before Parliament, and the Audit Act gives permission legally to the Director of Audit to audit the accounts, to examine and audit the accounts of a recipient of government money. So does I.A.D.C qualify as a recipient of government money? Well, let's examine some facts here. First, before I do that, I have to read to you what the law defines recipient of government money is. Let me not forget. A recipient of government money, under the interpretation section of the Audit Act says, it says a recipient of government money means a corporation, association, organization, or anybody that has received directly or indirectly a grant, loan, or advance from the government. B, to whom the government has transferred property for no consideration or for a consideration substantially less than its fair market value. Or C, so once you satisfy any one of those, you can prove it's a recipient of government money. Or C, for whom the government has guaranteed the performance of an obligation or given an indemnity. Now, without going into too much details, I want to at least establish two of those levels to show that I.A.D.C is a recipient of government money. Did it receive directly or indirectly a grant, loan or advance from the government? It did receive grants from the government. We know in Eyewitness News reportings in June 2013, we have a story called Latest Loans Will Bring the Airport to Completion. And in it, we're told of an EC $208 million that the government was going to borrow to complete the Argyle International Airport. $208 million. They were going to raise it in different ways. But that monies would be raised by the government and then transferred to the I.A.D.C. So it is a recipient of government money. Also, in August of 2015, another story, government borrows 13 million more for Argyle Airport. And then in another story yet of September 2015, government to borrow US 16 million more for Argyle Airport. So we have evidence that the government borrowed money and brought bills to Parliament to approve sending this money, disbursing this money to the I.A.D.C. Therefore, it qualifies as a recipient of government money because it received directly a grant from the government. There's another level here. It must be a body to whom the government has transferred property, yes, for no consideration or basically no money being owed to the government, so to speak. But what proof do we have of that? I want to refer to two deeds that I went and dug up here. We have deed number 3346 of 2005, and this deed is a very important deed because what it shows is that the government granted I.A.D.C. lands. It transferred property to I.A.D.C. Therefore, it's a recipient of government money. In this deed, we are told that the I.A.D.C. was granted by government a total of a little over 102 acres of land and some square footage as well in the year 2005. The deed is here. I don't have a lot of time to read through the entire thing, but it clearly shows, I'll just read at least this part. It says, "Now this indenture witnesseth that in pursuance of the said agreement and in consideration of the grantors," which is the government in this deed, "beneficial interest in the company, the grantor, the government, doth hereby grant and convey unto the company, the I.A.D.C, its successors and assigns, all and singular, the said hereditaments and all the estate right, title, interest, claim, and demand of the grantor in, to, and upon the said hereditaments, and every part thereof to have and to hold the same unto and to the use of the company, its successors and assigns forever." Now, when you go through the schedules, you will see all the parcels of land that were granted from government crown lands to the I.A.D.C. For example, 61 acres of land in Arnesville, another 2.3 acres in Arnesville, another 16.44 acres in Friendship, Mount Pleasant, Beckway, another 23 acres, 23.13 acres in Cane Grove, etc. So the point is, we have evidence in law that the government granted lands, okay, to the I.A.D.C, transferred lands to them for no consideration because they have beneficial interest in the company. So it's like the government really taking lands from one place and putting it in another place, but the company is owned by them, as you will see. And also in this deed number 1078 of 2009, there is proof that the I.A.D.C was able to sell lands to Harlequin Property, S.V.G Limited, to the tune of $7.109496 million. So they got lands from government to the point where they could sell lands to make money, obviously, for their operations. That is evidence that it is a recipient of government money, and therefore it can be audited, its accounts can be audited. The auditor may examine and audit the accounts of a recipient of government money in relation, that's what the section 18 of the Audit Act tells us, in relation to government money received by the company in order to enable him to report as required by this act. Let's see if we could quickly touch on point number 3. We want to show you that the nature of this organization, the I.A.D.C, is that it is government owned and controlled corporation. And this is important because under the Audit Act of section 19, we are told, for example, that not only does the Director of Audit have a legal entitlement to access the records and statements and so on of a company that is designated a government-owned or controlled corporation, but that company, we are also told, has a legal duty to the Director of Audit, that is a government-owned or controlled corporation, also has a legal duty to provide any information, records, etc. that the Director of Audit may need to enable him to carry out his responsibilities, and this is all here in section 19. It even goes on to say that the Director of Audit may station an employee or professional auditor referred to in section 9A in the offices of, and it lists the offices where the Director of Auditor can place a professional auditor, and one of them is a government-owned or controlled corporation. Why? For the purposes of enabling the Director of Audit to carry out his responsibilities under this Act more effectively, which is to audit the government accounts. So in auditing the government accounts, the Director of Audit can in fact station an auditor inside the office of a government-owned or controlled corporation. Well, is I.A.D.C a government-owned or controlled corporation? Yes, I believe it is. Why do I say that? Again, when you look at the certificate of incorporation of the I.A.D.C, we are told, one of the things we are told is that no member of the public can actually own shares. It says here, I'm quoting to you from one of their forms in Articles of Incorporation. It says, any invitation to the public to subscribe for shares or debentures of the company is prohibited. This establishes that the government, who is the sole shareholder, which I'll show you shortly, controls the company, because it says nobody else, no invitation to the public to subscribe for shares is allowed. It's prohibited. How I know government is sole shareholder? In this form, I copied that SIPO, Local Company Annual Return. This is the latest one for the year ending December 31st, 2016. We are told different information about the company. Rochelle Ford is the secretary. We are told that on this part of the form, I don't know if you can see, but essentially we are told that who are the shareholders past and present up to end of December 2016? Look at it. Name: Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, held in trust by Dr. the Honorable Prime Minister Ralph E. Gonsalves. Did you hear that? The government, basically represented by the Prime Minister as a trustee, for the government, holds all the shares in the I.A.D.C. Therefore, with you holding all the shares and you prohibiting in your incorporation documents anybody from owning shares apart from you, it means you not only are government-owned, that is I.A.D.C, but you're also government controlled, because a part of the law explains that not only do you have to show it is government owned, but you have to show it is government controlled. And to show that it is government controlled, you must show that the government has more than 50% of the shares, that the government is able to elect more than 50% or a majority of the directors. And by the way, the bylaw of the company does state in paragraph 4.4, I think it is, it does state, paragraph 4.3, that directors shall be elected by the shareholders. So if government is the sole shareholder, and if government prohibits in the incorporation articles of the company anybody in public from owning shares, and the directors are elected by shareholders, then it means the sole shareholder, the government, has control of the company, because it can elect the majority of the directors as the sole shareholder. So we've established these 3 points, and we have limited time. We've established these 3 points that, look, this company is a government-controlled and owned company. This company is a recipient of government funds or money, and this company is also, as we see under the Constitution, a body established by law for public purposes. And for these reasons, my dear people, it is clear that the Director of Audit must audit the I.A.D.C's accounts in keeping with her duty of auditing the government's public accounts, seeing that they receive money from government and are government controlled. Now, we have gone over our time, but I'm going to extend this and make it a longer version for other purposes by explaining to you one last point. Now, In conclusion, we want to consider the situation at the Director of Audit's office, because you see, they have a mandate. This is a very important office. It has a mandate. If you look at the audit report, the annual audit report, the last one for the years ending 2009 and 2010, you would see that this is the last available one, unfortunately, because we're in 2017 and this is rather behind. But there are reasons. But one of the things you see is that the audit mandate shows, and I quote, "The Director of Audit is the independent auditor of government, acting on behalf of the taxpayer." Did you hear that? So you see, the Director of Audit acts on behalf of the taxpayer. And another thing that is important to note is on page 3 of the audit report, where we are told that the Director of Audit can only submit examinations and opinions of accounts and statements that are given to her by the Accountant General. It says the preparation of the financial statements is the responsibility of the Accountant General, the government's chief accounting officer. It is the responsibility of the Director of Audit to form an independent opinion on the public accounts based on the audits carried out by her office. And it goes on to say, the audit report covers only matters which have been examined by the audit office. It does not draw conclusions upon matters not examined. So if the Accountant General doesn't submit the statements to the auditor, the Director of Audit, who is responsible for auditing government accounts, then she cannot provide opinions on what she has not been given. And this is something that essentially was complained about under general issues on page 4. We're told, for example, 1.11, all the audit activities planned for the years 2009 and 2010 were not completed due to inadequate human and financial resources. Who's responsible for ensuring that the Director of Audit's office is outfitted with adequate human and financial resources? Why, the government, of course. So if they cannot do their work to complete the audit as they should, even to carry out the auditing of recipients of government monies by placing professional auditors in their offices, by placing professional auditors in the offices of government-owned and controlled corporations like the I.A.D.C, who's responsible if the Director of Audit can't do it because they don't have adequate human and financial resources? It is the government. It's the Minister of Finance. We're even told here, and I'll just give you this one more, 1.14. The mandate of the Audit Office has been extended to include the audit of statutory bodies and government-controlled companies. Did you hear that? And we've already proven that I.A.D.C is a government-controlled company. However, listen to what the Director of Audit says about why she could not fulfill her duties of auditing all the statutory bodies and government-controlled companies. It goes on to say at 1.14 under general issues, page 4 of the audit report for the years ending 2009 and 2010. She says, due to the lack of adequately trained and qualified personnel on staff, the office was unable to audit any of these statutory bodies. Private sector accounting firms were engaged to conduct the audit on behalf of the Audit Office for the following statutory bodies: St. Vincent and the Grenadines Postal Corporation, International Financial Services Authority, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines Bureau of Standards. So you see the reality of what the Director of Audit's office has to contend with. You're given a wide mandate in law, including the auditing of government-controlled companies, according to the audit report, according to the review of the director, but due to lack of adequately trained and qualified personnel, you're unable to do the job, the wide scope of your job. And this has to be the ultimate responsibility of the Minister of Finance, not outfitting the office sufficiently with what they need in terms of human and financial resources to do their job. The buck stops with the Minister of Finance, which in this case is the Prime Minister. This is the reality, my dear people. There are other issues that are highlighted in this that I can't go through right now, but you have, for example, the Director of Audit complaining about the non-compliance with systems and procedures which are to be maintained by the relevant accounting officers, the PSs in different ministries. Again, if she does not receive the relevant statements from the Accountant General under the Finance Administration Act, it sets out the relevant accounts and statements which the Accountant General is required to submit to the Director of Audit and the time frame within which the accounts are to be submitted. So we are only left to assume that in the event where she cannot provide audits on certain statements and you can't find certain things in here, it's simply because she can only work with what she has received. This audit office can only work with what it has received and what it has the capability to do based on having the relevant resources. So we see really and truly what is going on here. Now, the Prime Minister argued that, well, you can't find information about funds disbursed from government in the audit report of the Director of Audit in her annual report. You can't find information here, and the context was money is disbursed to I.A.D.C. Well, my dear people, I searched and I searched and I searched in this, our last audit report for the years ending 2009-2010, and I cannot find any information showing monies that were disbursed and appropriated by Parliament to the I.A.D.C. I can't find it. If it is in there in some general statement about maybe monies that we got from Taiwan or loans from Venezuela, etc., if it is in there in some general statement, well, it is hiding because you can't see it. And to appreciate that the auditor has indeed reported on those monies, and you claim that it is in the annual report, this is the last one, I want you to come and show it to us sincerely. Come and open this and show us where the monies, any monies that were given to I.A.D.C. between, since its setting up in 2004 and the date of this report, 2010, come and show us any monies that the government gave to them. Show us it in this. It is clear in the answers that were given by the Prime Minister on this issue, there's too much craftiness. And when you have craftiness in the answers of a responsible official, it equates to covering up facts that should be known to the public. Crafty answers are never straightforward, and it shows that they are less than sincere in accounting to the public. This is unacceptable. We see clearly that the Director of Audit has legal permission to audit the accounts of the I.A.D.C., which would mean they would appear in her annual report, which would mean they would be laid in Parliament, and this has been legally established in sections of the Audit Act 2005. We showed you that the I.A.D.C. is a recipient of government money. The I.A.D.C. is a government-owned and controlled corporation. Don't forget, the very I.A.D.C's website says it is a wholly owned government private limited liability corporation or company, okay? And we saw also that under the Constitution, it receives monies appropriated and disbursed by Parliament, and that money has to be accounted for, including being able to check on those who received the money and how they spent it. This is the conclusion of my findings thus far. I'm happy I can share it with you. You need to call for accountability at this level. It is not sufficient to say that the I.A.D.C. submits its audited reports to SIPO. The law also requires both the Constitution and the Audit Act. As we have seen in this program, it also requires that the Office of the Director of Audit be so outfitted that it can audit also companies such as the I.A.D.C. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can call us at the number on your screen. It's 528-1015. That's 528-1015. Until our next program, I'm Anesia Baptiste for the D.R.P, the Democratic Republican Party.